Now we're going to try something a little different than other DHS annual meetings. We really are grateful for Dana Saft, our program manager, for letting us try something a little different this afternoon. I know many of you have been in centers of excellence before, and the annual meetings are usually sort of this like death by PowerPoint, right? Where all of the academics stand up and we talk about the amazing work which we have done this last year, which has occurred. We, with this eye towards transition and with the emphasis from Dana, thought that it would be really great if, rather than having the academics preach to each other and perhaps the DHS, if we could hear from operators and have them share their problems that they are having with us. So some of you are perhaps familiar with this concept of a reverse pitch. Organizations use this, it's become much more fashionable, where a large organization will pitch a problem to a small group, a startup, or a small company, and let them propose solutions that they can fund and move forward. So that's what we're going to do this afternoon. So in order to introduce this, there are, I don't say rules, that makes it sound like there are ground rules. There is a process to this, that we are going to do problem construction, not problem solution today. So we know that we've been trained since kindergarten to hear a problem and solve a problem. We're not trying to solve the problems today. What we're trying to do in the hour that we have is to more completely and deeply understand the problems that these operators, these counterterrorism professionals have. So to motivate that, I'm going to do a couple of really quick little exercises, cognitive tests as it were. Then we'll talk about the goals and give you some very broad rules of engagement for the afternoon. So first, this really short cognitive test about your ability to focus.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball.
Okay, so hopefully you are able to count the number of passes. I don't know if we have the chat up, but if we do, I'd be interested for those who participated to tell us how many passes the white team had. So if you're there, go ahead, just type in, and we'll see how accurate that you were. There's a lot going on, however, in that short video clip that you may not have noticed. So let's just sort of walk through that again. All right, are you ready?
The answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla? For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it, but did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And
I love this example so much. At least the first time I saw it, I'm ashamed to say I did not see the gorilla, nor the player, nor the curtain. I was so intent on solving the problem that I missed every other change in the environment. I hope that in this medium that experience was the same for you. We get so busy in counting the passes and focusing on what we think the problem is that the curtain change is not even subtle. It's not, it is overt. And yet we're so intent on the problem that we miss that changing environment. And so the intent today is, as we think about the problem, is to make sure that we are looking at the entire environment of the solution space. Related to that, we have another quick problem that we'd like you to solve. So, I want you to imagine that you are driving down a road in your car on a wild and stormy night. If you've been in Omaha lately, we've had several of these. And imagine you pass by a bus stop and you see 3 people waiting for the bus. You have an old lady that looks like she's about to die, an old friend who once saved your life, and the perfect partner you've been dreaming about your whole life. Now, you only have one seat in your car. You're driving a Mini Cooper. Which one of these 3 people would you put in your car and why? I want you to be able to justify it. I'll give you about 10 seconds to think about which of these people deserves, needs the seat in your car, and give a justification for why you chose that person. All right, have you made your choice? All right, who chose the old lady? I imagine if you chose her, it's because it's a matter of life and death. Seriously, this has to be the most important consideration when you're making the choice. It is literally life and death. If you chose your old friend, well, that means that you have read in your ledger, right? You know they're also not a serial killer, so probably feel safe and want to, take care of them. I chose the perfect partner because I'm a romantic. I imagine that some of you probably did that too. Imagine that you have this scenario. You have a car with 2 seats, an old lady who needs to get to the hospital, a trusted old friend, and a person that you want to spend time with and get to know better. What could you do? What are the other possibilities? Maybe you've seen this before. To me, it became pretty intuitively obvious, right? You have your friend drive the old lady in your car, and you sit with the perfect partner and look pretty good in the process. Now, I recognize this is artificial in that I gave you a fake deadline and made you try to justify it. It does, however, show the role that problem construction and problem formulation has. In the first scenario, I gave you a really distinct problem formulation and asked you to make a choice. You start running through the information and calculus around that choice and then want to justify and make your decision. In the second, we simply reformulated the same problem in a completely different way, and a superior solution manifests itself almost intuitively. That's what we hope to accomplish in the breakout sessions today. Don't come up with a solution. Let's just formulate and construct the problems. Now, Dr. Ronnie Ryder-Paulman, who is with us as an NCITE researcher, knows far more than I do or ever have about problem construction. And so I hope, Ronnie, that I've done it justice, at least to some degree today. So, as we're working in problem construction today, solve the right problem. A common mistake is that we think we know and we just want to get on to the business of fixing it. Truthfully, having a problem causes discomfort, cognitive discomfort that we want resolved. Take inspiration from Einstein, who said that if he had to solve a problem in an hour, he'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes solving it. So we have about an hour this afternoon. We're going to spend time, like Einstein, thinking only about the problem. Why do we do this? Because as a problem is constructed, it determines what information we seek. A trivial example is if a person who's graduating from high school has formulated the problem as which college should I attend versus what should I do after graduation. Similar problems, information patterns of seeking very different. So we want to to make sure that we've defined it correctly. It also helps us explain the decisions we make in our research design and the conclusions that we draw. It signals the importance of the problem. So a couple of things just to consider as we go to the breakout room. Some of the moderators will perhaps share this again, but as you're thinking about the problem, consider why it's a problem. There's likely a triggering event. Something has occurred that's brought this to the forefront. That's important to consider because often that triggering event is the first problem frame. It may only be a symptom, not the root core of the problem. So you should consider how it's framed based on that triggering event. You want to look at the constraints. What are they? Imagine they don't exist. Think about what hinges and impinges on that solution. And then defining this problem as a decision problem itself. A couple of things that you can do. Try to rephrase the problem based on what you've heard from the challenge statements from the counterterrorism professionals. Try to expose and challenge assumptions. So what are the assumptions? Which ones must hold? Which ones don't have to? Try to consider a broader or narrower perspective of the problem. Rewrite it. Don't solve it today. And the moderators will try to bump you back. If you start proposing solutions, we're off the rails. So you can reverse it going forward. Each of the moderators will be there to help facilitate the discussion. We'd ask that you explore it and are grateful for all of those DHS professionals who have taken the time to craft the problem statements and to be with us today to help enrich the research at NCITE.